Grandma used to say, when the spirit feels heavy, listen. Do you ever feel like a weight is on your chest, a shadow on your soul, even when things look good on the outside? Does the joy feel like it's leaving you, especially in the places that are most sacred to you? If that feels true, then this is for you. Today, we talk about 3 signs that show when there's a battle bigger than what you can see, a fight happening in the spirit world. We're going to talk about these 3 signs, plain and simple. You'll know if what you're feeling is just life or something deeper, something beyond our eyes. More than that, you'll learn how to protect yourself, to bring back the flame of your faith, and how to find your path again. Get ready to see through the darkness with knowledge and the tools you need to be strong. When we're done here, you won't just understand these signs, you'll have the wisdom to face any spiritual fight. A new strength will grow in you, your faith will be like a bright star, and life's challenges won't look so big anymore. So, if you're longing to take back your life and your faith, join me, and together we'll unravel these mysteries. Some days, that tiredness will hit you like an unexpected storm, like a load that pulls your soul down, like an invisible force is draining your spirit. Waking up will feel like a struggle. The joy that used to shine bright will go dim, and even the faith that has always been there will feel like it is fading away. This isn't by chance. Like our old stories tell us, our struggles aren't just about the world we see, but about spirits that work in the hidden places. That tiredness, that deep weariness, it's often a warning sign of a spiritual fight. The coyote wants you to stay lost, because the less you know, the easier it is to keep you trapped in darkness. And what's so clever is that this weariness doesn't hit you all at once, but slowly, like a fog creeping in. It starts with a whisper of discouragement. You feel too heavy to pray. You don't read the stories that have always guided you. The old songs don't hold the same meaning. The peace you're supposed to feel becomes like a memory, not a reality. If nothing changes, that weariness turns into a deep hole, leading you away from the truth, making you believe you are all alone. But here's the truth: you are never alone. Just like the old teachings say, the Great Spirit is always here for us. So then, you might ask yourself, how do I know if it's a spiritual battle or just a hard time? The difference is in how it affects your connection to the Great Spirit. Life has its hard times, but when there's a dark force at work, there's a block. Your prayers don't seem to go anywhere. The old stories don't touch your heart anymore, and a coldness fills your mind. But calm your spirit. Just recognizing that it's happening is a great victory. Now, it's about how we answer that call. And that's what we'll be talking about next. Another sign of a spiritual battle is when you lose interest in the sacred ways. At first, it might look like an easy choice. One day you're too tired to pray. The next, you don't read the sacred stories because you think you already know them. But soon, the ceremonies lose their spark. The songs don't echo in your heart, and you slowly drift away without noticing. That's the trap of the coyote, to get you to disconnect slowly until you feel empty inside. Just like the old teachings tell us, the Great Spirit is with us all the time. But if our connection gets weak, we can't feel that sacred presence. This drifting away rarely comes like a storm. Most times it hides in little distractions. A story that holds you more than the sacred teachings, a habit that steals the time for connecting with the Creator, a thought that convinces you that you can put off meeting with the divine. And so, little by little, what was essential becomes secondary. The old ones used to say that nothing can separate us from the love of the Great Spirit, but if we're not careful, we can drift away ourselves. The key to avoiding this trap is to recognize the cause of the drifting and to consciously decide to return to the sacred path. And how do you reignite that interest? Start with gentle steps. Go back to your prayers, even for a few moments. Reflect on the ancient songs, savoring each word. Ask the Creator to rekindle the fire within you. Often, reluctance to seek the Great Spirit comes from a spiritual trap. And it's that rope that we need to break. The question that remains is there something preventing you from reconnecting with the Great Spirit? Something seemingly small, but that's pulling you away from the light? In the next sign, we'll go deeper into this reflection. The third warning sign of a spiritual battle is the constant shadow of bad thoughts and doubts creeping in about your faith. Have you noticed how suddenly your mind becomes a battlefield, bombarded by questions? Does the divine voice truly hear me? What if all of this is just a mirage? What if I never manage to get out of this valley? These questions don't come from nowhere. The old ones taught us to not be afraid because the Great Spirit is always with us. But the coyote, cunning, spreads fear, uncertainty, and confusion in our minds. If he manages to plant the seed of doubt, he's already gained a big advantage to pull you away from the truth. The problem is that these doubts don't appear clearly, but disguise themselves as innocent reflections. You might start feeling a constant mental tiredness, a heaviness in your soul, and an unreasonable lack of enthusiasm for your faith. This reveals an unseen battle, mainly fought in the mind. Our struggles, the elders said, are not just against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces. In other words, these thoughts are not just coincidences, but strategies to weaken you spiritually. But here's the truth. You don't need to surrender to this attack. The strongest way to push away these thoughts is to flood your mind with the divine truth. In moments of doubt, proclaim the words of your ancestors, reaffirming that nothing can separate you from the love of the Creator. When fear comes, remember that the Great Spirit walks with you until the end of time. And above all, resist the temptation to isolate yourself. The coyote craves your isolation, but the Great Spirit invites you to stand firm. Now that you've recognized these signs, the big question that remains is, how do you strengthen yourself to win this battle? That's the topic we'll dive into next. If you've recognized any of these signs on your journey, don't despair. The simple fact that you're seeking understanding reveals that the divine flame is awakening you. The enemy works in the shadows, but the revealing of the truth lights up the path. You are not alone on this journey. The elders taught us that the Great Spirit will never leave you, will never abandon you. So even if your faith feels fragile, know that He supports you, ready to lift you up. The first step to break free from this state is to recognize that this battle exists and that you don't need to face it alone. Now, the question might be echoing in your mind. How do I react to this trial? How do I break this cycle? The answer lies in your spiritual stance. Start to rekindle your connection with the Great Spirit. Don't wait to feel the inspiration to pray. Pray even if the desire feels absent. Enjoy reading the ancestral teachings, even if it's just a single passage. Talk to the Great Spirit as you would with a close friend. The ancient songs show us that the Creator is our guide, and we will lack nothing. This means that He already offers everything to strengthen us. We just need to come closer. And don't be fooled. Tiredness, discouragement, and doubts are tools to pull you away from the source of life. And what's the secret to winning in a spiritual battle? Perseverance. The old ones taught us that nothing can separate us from the love of the Great Spirit, but it's up to us to hold on to that truth. Don't give in to the lies of the trickster. You may be exhausted, but you are not defeated. You might have stumbled, but the Great Spirit still yearns for your closeness. The past doesn't decide your future, and your mistakes don't cancel out the divine call on your life. So the question now is, will you let discouragement trap you, or will you choose to fight? In the next step, we'll reveal the path to becoming strong once and for all. Now that you recognize the reality of this spiritual battle, it's time to act. It's not enough to just know the problem if you stay still. The trickster wants to see you passive, but the Great Spirit wants to see you moving. The first step to emerge victorious from this war is to strengthen your spirit. How? By nourishing yourself with the teachings of the Great Spirit every day. Think of your physical body. If you go days without food, you'll grow weak, without the energy to get up. The same thing happens with your spirit. The Great Spirit promised to be with us until the end of time, but if you don't connect with that power, how can you feel that presence? So, make the teachings a priority. If your faith feels weak, don't worry. Faith is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Pray even if your voice feels like it's not being heard. Read the old stories, even when the desire feels distant. Sing, even if your soul feels downcast. The ancient songs tell us that even if we walk through the valley of the shadow, we don't need to fear because the Great Spirit is with us. And when you start to act, a powerful transformation will happen. Your mind will be renewed, your spirit will grow stronger, and you'll realize that darkness cannot stand against the light of truth. But here's the secret. Don't try to fight this battle alone. Seek support from your brothers and sisters. Involve yourself in a community. Ask for help. Loneliness is one of the tricks the enemy uses to weaken us. Remember that the Great Spirit does not abandon you, but also uses people to guide you on your journey. So don't hesitate to open up and ask for help. What matters now is not the past, but the choices you will make from now on. And in the next step, we'll reveal how to shield your life against future spiritual attacks. Now that you've started to strengthen your faith, it's time to shield your life against future spiritual attacks. The trickster doesn't give up easily, and if he sees you waking up, he'll try to strike you in other ways. But here's the good news. You can get ahead and prepare so you don't fall into the same traps. The first step is to understand that the enemy takes advantage of openings. If there's something in your life that's pulling you away from the Great Spirit, a habit, a toxic friendship, a repeating wrong, you need to close that door. Otherwise, the cycle will repeat. Often the soul longs for spiritual victory, but insists on exposing itself to what weakens it. It's like a body that wants to be healthy, but indulges in fast food. There's no progress. If you want to walk the path of spiritual strength, you need to nourish your soul with the right food. Swap hours of empty content for moments of communion with the divine. Replace the songs and programs that pull you away from the presence of the Great Spirit with chants and messages that uplift your spirit. Reflect on the wisdom of the old ones, because the real battle is not against people or circumstances, but against spiritual forces that want to see you fall. Also, it's important to understand that prayer is not just a request for help, but a weapon of war. If you seek prayer only in moments of crisis, your spiritual life will remain unstable. But if prayer becomes a daily habit, you will be strengthened, regardless of the trials that life presents. The ancient teachings remind us that the Great Spirit strengthens and supports us. He has already given us the tools to win, but it's up to us to use them. So, the question is, will you let the attack surprise you, or will you prepare to stand firm? In the next step, we will reveal the transformation that happens when you take your place in the spirit of the great Creator. Now that you know how to strengthen your spirit and protect yourself, something powerful starts to manifest. You take your place in the spirit of the great Creator. This means that you are no longer an easy target for spiritual attacks, but someone who knows their divine identity and lives with authority. The enemy preys on the lost, confused, and disoriented, but when you stand firm in your faith, he loses the power to manipulate you. The sacred teachings tell us that nothing can separate us from the love of the Great Spirit. Not hardship, not suffering, not any attack of the enemy. When this truth echoes in your being, your spirit grows stronger, and you start living in a whole new way. But taking this place doesn't mean there won't be challenges. The trickster will still try to unsettle you. But now, you won't show yourself as vulnerable. You know that even when trials come, the Great Spirit supports you. He assured that he would be with us every day until the end of time. This means that even in moments of weakness, the Great Spirit has not gone away. He continues to fight on your behalf. What is asked of you is to not give up. And here lies the final secret. When you stand in the spirit of the great Creator, your life begins to impact other souls. You not only win your own battles, but you become a beacon of faith for those around you. The Great Spirit yearns to use your life to inspire and strengthen others, but for this to happen, you need to remain firm. So, the question that presents itself is, are you ready to embrace your identity as a child of the divine and live this transformation once and for all? In the next step, we'll reveal the last and most important teaching to win any spiritual battle. Now that you understand that you can live with spiritual authority, it's time to uncover your true identity in the spirit of the great Creator. The sacred teachings are clear. You are not a defeated being, without power or vulnerable to the attacks of the enemy. The divine has shown us that we rise with the Spirit and are given a place of honor. This means that spiritually you already live in a place of victory. You don't need to live like someone seeking victory because you have already attained it through the Spirit of the great Creator. The problem is that many do not know this truth and live as if they are at a disadvantage. The trickster yearns to convince you of your loneliness, weakness, and inability to react. But pause and think, how can someone who is already with the Creator be defeated? You don't fight to conquer victory, but from victory. This difference changes everything. When you unlock this truth, your way of facing spiritual battles changes completely. Fear fades away. Discouragement loses its power. You don't pray as someone begging for help, but as someone who knows their authority through the great Creator. You begin to declare the teachings with faith and see the results in your life. And this truth needs to renew your thinking. Instead of asking, can the Great Spirit help me? Proclaim, the Great Spirit has already given me everything I need to win. The divine assures us that He strengthens us and supports us. So rise up, take your place, and claim this divine identity. You are not a victim of this battle, but more than a conqueror. Now, the question before you is, are you ready to abandon this stance of fragility once and for all, and live as someone who already dwells in the spirit of the great Creator? In the next step, we'll conclude this journey with the final piece. Now that you know you are already in the spirit of the great Creator, the last piece of this puzzle is to live in accordance with this truth. Many understand their union with the divine, but still live as if they are at the mercy of spiritual attacks. But the question is, if you are already seated with the Creator, why continue to drag yourself along like someone defeated? The trickster seeks to obscure your position because he knows that those who know their authority are invincible. You need to claim this truth daily without allowing doubts or opposing feelings to control you. Now think with me. Does someone who is seated with the Creator live in fear? Do they live anxiously? Do they live insecurely? Surely not. When you understand that your spiritual position has already been defined by the Great Spirit, you act, think, and speak differently. The teachings remind us that nothing can separate us from the love of the divine. If nothing can pull you away, what can defeat you? Absolutely nothing. But this transformation doesn't happen automatically. You need to renew your mind daily with the teachings. Seek out places that strengthen your faith and avoid everything that weakens your spirit. Finally, understand that you don't fight to survive, but to reign. It has been made clear that the Great Spirit is with us every day. You are not alone on this journey. The spiritual battle becomes a burden only when you try to face it alone. But when you trust in the power of the divine, the burden turns into authority. Now, one last decision remains. Are you ready to abandon weakness and live as a child of the divine who already has victory? Because that is exactly what he wants for you. Now that you've unraveled the signs and strategies to win this spiritual battle, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? The Great Spirit has already given you the weapons needed to face any adversity. He has equipped you with His teachings, with His presence, and with His authority. But for this transformation to show up in your life, you need to act. Don't let doubt paralyze you, and don't allow life's trials to steal what the Great Spirit is offering you. If you are determined to win, not only in the spiritual sphere, but in all areas of your existence, the time to act is now. I invite you to join me in prayer, because it is in communion with the divine that our faith is strengthened and our spirit connects with the Great Spirit. Let's pray now that this word planted in your heart may bear fruit 100-fold for the glory of the great Creator. Prayer. Great Spirit, I give thanks for every word revealed in this moment. I thank you, for we know that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces, and you have already given us victory. Great Spirit, may this word, sown in the heart of every person who has heard this message, grow abundant fruit. May faith be strengthened, may courage be renewed, and may all who have received this revelation be clothed with your authority. In the name of the great Creator, I proclaim victory over every life represented here. May the peace of the divine, which surpasses all understanding, flood every heart, and may they, from this moment on, rise firm and strong, aware of their identity as conquerors. Amen. If this message has resonated with you, share this video with those who need this revelation, and subscribe to our channel to continue learning and growing in faith. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any inspiring messages like this. Together, in the spirit of the great Creator, let us achieve all the victories that have been set aside for us. Until our next meeting.